Thank you everyone for coming this morning and making the journey here. And I know lots of preparation's been put into this by the speakers. And, I'm just really looking forward to hearing all these papers and having a chance to sort of physically discuss and debate. Just being physically in a room with other people just feels like a bit of a luxury still. I don't know about yourselves. And I hope your journey here was good. I know we've had people come from quite some distance, but actually, to be honest, even the people that have just walked here, I think it's been a bit of an epic journey with the cold weather this morning. You should all have your lovely merch bags, your goodie bags. If you want one and you haven't picked one up, they're out there. They were supplied by a company called Slightly Foxed, which they're like a literary podcast and they kind of promote literature. So if you've not heard of Slightly Foxed and haven't come across them before, do kind of check them out. They've been really supportive of this and they put this pack together for us at no charge. So, they've been really helpful. I also put into the goodie bags a postcard from the Alliance of Literary Societies. I know some of you came up to the AGM that they held in Hull earlier on this year, but if you are a member of our society, for example, you will also be a member of the Alliance of Literary Societies, and they do a really good job at promoting literary societies and the writers. So, if you're interested in them, please, have a look at their website, for example. I'd just like to thank all my fellow trustees for helping to put this conference together. It really has been a sort of group organisation. I know I've kind of been the person sending emails and things and grumbling when I've got too much to do, but it really has felt like a group effort. And Daniel and Julian will be on the merchandise stall later, so if anybody wants to come and buy some of the merchandise, it's really nice and it does really support us as a organisation. It actually makes quite a big impact on what we can do. I know there's a lot happening over the next 2 days. Not everyone's familiar with Hull or the university. So I just wanted to say, if you've got any questions or if anything's worrying you or whatever, or you're not sure about something, just grab me or grab one of the trustees and, we're more than happy to help. There's some of our lovely merchandise we've got over there. Can I just draw your attention to the washing line and the hedgehog with the big knickers? I actually designed that picture. Philip Larkin took the photograph, I'll give him the credit. There's some lovely stuff over there. So Larkin100, you might have noticed on your name badges, the logo isn't actually on there. It's not because this isn't a Larkin100 event. It is, it's just I couldn't fit everything in. I thought we started to look like a sort of Boy Scout badge, so I ended up leaving it off. But it is a Larkin100 event, and the centenary, everything we've done this year has just been absolutely remarkable, and I'm sure you'll have maybe attended other events or heard about other events. Obviously the BBC got behind it. Simon Armitage came up here and did the talk here in August for the birthday, actually on the birthday. Vicky Foster, who's here and we'll be talking to later, we put together a really lovely event at the Hull Truck Theatre. And obviously there's been events in Coventry, Wellington, Leicester. This is Phil Pullen's lecture tour of across the country, just taking information and fascinating kind of talks about Larkin to lots of different places. And just last week, the plaque was unveiled on the house where he was born in Coventry, and we laid a wreath at Westminster Abbey in Poets' Corner. So throughout the year, there's been so many fantastic events. And so this conference kind of has a special role in bringing the year to a close. And I think we've agreed it's like our last official event. So this year, when the conference was in its very early stages of planning, we knew it would come at the end of 2022. And we did want it to be about looking ahead because we knew we'd spend the year reflecting on what Larkin's work has given us, what we wanted to celebrate about Larkin, how we wanted to reach out to as many people as possible across the country, around the world. Larkin himself, without any help from us, managed to capture the nation's mood. As you might recall, with the death of the Queen, Larkin's 4-line poem was read out in Parliament, quoted in newspapers and social media. So once again, we were reminded of the way that Larkin's words resonate so strongly with so many people. Yeah, it was a poem that people kind of turned to. But we, in this conference, we wanted to continue the spirit of Larkin100 and the Philip Larkin Society in general about being kind of open and democratic. And we don't want to be closed to people that might feel they're not normally members of literary societies or they're not academic enough or whatever. And I think we've done quite a good job with that. And so we're really thrilled today that we have got wonderful academics, but we've also got teachers, journalists, poets, musicians, all of whom will bring unique perspectives to Larkin's work. So the title of the conference, Bad Habits of Expectancy Towards Larkin200, the first half of which was taken from Larkin's poem Next Please, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But we do really hope that there will be a group of people out there celebrating Larkin in 2112. We don't know what futuristic form it might take. So it might look a bit like this, maybe. But we strongly believe that Larkin is the kind of writer that, will survive. His work will survive and will be read and will be loved by generations to come. Even Larkin himself joked that one day this be the verse will be recited by huge assemblies of Girl Guides. So, we haven't quite got there yet, but it'd be great if it does. Next Please. The poem Next Please. I'll just read it through because I think it's nice to hear a bit of Larkin. Always too eager for the future, we pick up bad habits of expectancy. Something is always approaching. Every day till then we say, watching from a bluff, the tiny, clear, sparkling armada of promises draw near. How slow they are, and how much time they waste, refusing to make haste. Yet still they leave us holding wretched stalks of disappointment. For though nothing balks each big approach, leaning with brasswork prinked, each rope distinct, flagged, and the figurehead with golden tits arching our way, it never anchors. It's no sooner present than it turns to past, right to the last. We think each one will heave to and unload all good into our lives, all we are owed for waiting so devoutly and so long. But we are wrong. Only one ship is seeking us, a black-sailed unfamiliar, towing at her back a huge and birdless silence. In her wake, no waters breed or break. So, Next Please reminds us of the dangers of living in the future and being overly entranced by the sparkling armadas on the horizon. It was written in 1950, not long after Larkin had arrived in Belfast, and he included it in his collection of 20 poems, XX poems, and then also into The Less Deceived. And it's one of those Larkin poems which I think is a really good choice for this conference because it's a little bit kind of, to me, a bit awkward, a bit of a spiky sort of poem. It doesn't quite fit into any particular box very easily. James Booth, who's here, calls it an original and enjoyable exercise on a familiar theme, and also adds as context to this the comment that Larkin made to Monica Jones at that time in a letter. So Larkin wrote to Monica, "I was struck again by the genuine quality of your pessimism. I play at pessimism, but you really are a pessimist." If you look in Jim Orwin's book, and Jim is here, and we have his book here. This is something else that happened this year, actually, that we published this book, which was great because as a society we haven't published a physical book for a long time. So Jim's book is a survey of musical settings of Larkin's poetry. So if you look in the index, you'll see that Next Please has been set to music quite a few times. I was quite surprised. And one setting by a musician called James Telford involved Next Please and a piece that Telford wrote himself called The Present. And his comment on that was that the combination of the two pieces implores us to seize the moment in an entirely different manner. And I do think that Next Please is very much a carpe diem kind of poem. James Underwood observes that Next Please can be aligned with other poems Larkin wrote at the time, such as Absences, Going and Wants, and that rather being autobiographical, instead Larkin journeys into an imaginative world in which he himself is absent or tangential. Underwood also points out the link to the central image of the North Ship, and of course ships sail throughout Larkin's poetry, just as he journeyed from landlocked Coventry and Leicester to the coastal towns of Belfast and Hull that were to play such pivotal roles in his life and his writing. And Vicky Foster and Esther Johnson will be exploring this theme later today. I asked the Philip Larkin Society committee what they thought about Next Please. So Simon reminded me, he commented on how the end of the poem evokes the rhyme of the Ancient Mariner and a kind of Anglo-Saxon feel to that final line, no waters breed or break. Our esteemed chair, Graham, said that Next Please, what an infuriating title. What would people say if asked? What would they expect from a title like that? Not what follows, I guess. And Graham said to me this morning he enjoys being infuriated by Larkin. I think the first time I read Next Please, obviously probably when I was a teenager, I was taken aback by, I just remember being really taken aback by the starkness of that image of the black-sailed unfamiliar, that ship of death. But also, you know, just the absurdity of the golden tits. I always love it in Larkin when he swears, especially as an English teacher, you get a chance to swear in classrooms, it's great. And I was fascinated by the word print and distinct. It doesn't appear in any other Larkin poem, the word print. I mean, I don't know if any poets ever use the word print very much. But it's, again, for me, it's something that Larkin does. He kind of takes language and just presents it to us in a fascinating way. So we could probably spend all day debating this poem, but we're not going to. So, is looking ahead to the sparkling armadas of 21, 22 a bad idea? Well, I think it would be if we failed to take notice of where we are now, because for me, this is the sparkling armada. It's here. Larkin's poems, novels, drawings, photographs, postcards, letters, journalism, and each new approach, each new biography, talk, walking tour, newspaper article, podcast, conference paper, thesis, pastiche, all the things we do, YouTube clips, cartoons, musical settings, they all bring fresh interpretations, fresh wonder, fresh infuriation, and fresh joy. So I really hope you enjoy the next 2 days, and I'm going to hand you over now to Kyra for our first session. So thank you very much.